Okay, hello and welcome to Full Moon's Rise, and today we're doing an EDH edition where we will simply be talking about one of our EDH decks. We have multiple, each one of us, but we're going to kind of go into a bit of detail about decks we enjoy the most. So yeah, I guess we could just crack on with that.
Yay!
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Yeah, we'll go.
Get the horrendous one out of the way.
Yeah, yours hands down the worst.
I don't play this one very often because people don't like it when I do. But I built a deck for fun once with some Simic sort of commons when I first started playing in Ravnica and Return to Ravnica, and Gatecrash. And I built this little common Simic EDH deck to try and see if Evolve worked in EDH because it wasn't doing great in Standard at the time. And it turns out it works really well.
Yeah.
A bit too well.
Who'd
have thought?
Yeah, because you can start playing like some of the old graph stuff that Simic had as well, so it makes like loads of counters go everywhere. But my commander is Mormir Vig, given to me for my birthday by a very bad man, which I abused because
I did a stupid thing.
Yeah, it was fine when it was the other commander.
Yeah. Well, I used him because of the fact that he tutors when you. Basically, what happens is you search your library when you play a green spell and put it on the top of your deck, and if you play a blue spell, a creature spell, you get to draw it. And because I play a lot of like double Simic cards, there's a cat. Double Simic cards, you basically tutor and draw what you find, so it's awesome. And you can play a really nice little combo, which I have. I use Prophet of Prefix in partnership with Vig to untap my mana and everything in everyone else's turns, and then I use Crufix, God of Horizons, to store up my mana. And then I play cards like a Master Biomancer, who comes in and gives more counters for my creatures and more triggers on Evolve, and then I play cards like Horizon Chimera, which helps me draw. Whenever I draw a card, I gain a life. And there's a lot of like Simic dudes that come in, like Fathom Mage and Prime Particulars of Zagana, that draw you cards.
Yeah.
And that's basically it.
It gets out of like Vig's a 5-drop, right?
I can start the combo off on turn 4.
So
the moment Vig and Prophet are down, that's it.
Yeah, Vig and Prophet goes down, and basically it's just like every single turn, like of our turns, Sammy has her own turn.
Yeah.
So it's just like Sammy gets like 7 turns ahead of all of us.
Yeah, it's kind of silly.
And then it's just ludicrous after that, because once it's there, you just can't stop it. It's like, oh, okay, I kill that creature, counterspell, because I have a bajillion cards in my hand.
Yeah, I ended up with like massive hands, and with Crufix out, you have no maximum hand size.
I always forget that.
Yeah, and then you just you draw more responses, so you basically have all of the answers, all of the blockers and creatures and aggro on the board. You have it's kind of fun, but it's kind of a combo of just stuff that happens. You can do some fun stuff with it. I run a card called Sage of Hours, which puts counters on it. You remove it, take extra turns.
You don't need extra turns. You just have ours.
You just get more and more ahead, and it's kind of fun. But yeah, I can get it off on turn 4, but more often it's turn 5. And I run a card called Void Slime, which is by far my favourite counter spell because it's quite fun at countering anyone else's responses to stuff. But yeah, that's basically mine.
It's horrible. I mean, I've played that deck, and the feeling you get when you play that deck is unimaginable.
I think we've all borrowed it at one point and been like...
You just you sit there behind first maybe 3 things, like you said, like Vig, Prophet, and Master Biomancer, and then you just look at your hand, and you look at everyone else, and you just like, foolish mortals. Like seriously, what do you even hope to achieve about being in this game? You should all drop now because I've won.
It's not to mention all the little cool stuff you do with like the Young Wolf and a couple of other ones.
There's loads of cool little interactions with it, but it is mainly
making
just
tiny creatures huge.
I'm gonna play like a Cloudfin Raptor, and it's gonna be a million when it enters the battlefield, and you're just like, well, that sounds fair.
Basically, and my big normal spell for winning, although there's lots of other little things that can do it, is Biomass Mutation. Which is just like, so all the mana I've stocked up in Crufix in all your other turns, I'm now going to literally empty that entire lot, cram all my other mana into it, keep up some counter spells, and then just Biomass Mutation all of my stuff with all the counters already on it and swing for the win.
There's going to be biomass literally everywhere.
Yeah. There's many
so what was the highest damage output you've done with that deck?
We worked out it was over 1,000 once before, something like
3,000.
3,000.
3,000 from that's creature damage,
Yes.
not any of this like crazy nonsense. That's just like my creature's power equals 3,000 damage.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like, that's normal.
I normally run out of space on my playmat as well for all of this
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
We have to get you a Pantheon one.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a huge one.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's sweet.
that's my little deck that I made. Just started off as a fun little project and turned into something horrific. So.
Somehow.
Let's move on.
Somehow Blue Green has good synergy. You can call it.
Right, so the deck I've chosen is Riku of Two Reflections. He's a pretty crazy guy. 1 blue, 1 red, 1 green, 2 for, what is it, 2/3?
He's great at parties.
He's a
2/2,
2/2, yeah.
Okay. He sits there, you play instant and sorcery, and you can play, pay a blue and a red to copy it, or if it's a creature coming in under your control, you can pay blue and green to copy it.
With him, right?
Yeah,
he
and
becomes it.
that's what Riku's doing.
Does he
It spits
retain...
out a token that's a copy of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Riku, yeah.
So
Yeah.
he
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
change into it, but he.
Oh,
he
okay.
creates
it.
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
You
sweet.
get 3 things from him.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah,
really
he's,
good.
he's really good.
He's like, oh, I like your shiny thing. I want one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a nice blocker.
So yeah, he's the commander of the deck. He's a new addition as well. So pretty cool. The main idea with the deck though is a card called Dragonstorm. It's awesome!
It's without a doubt the worst storm spell. It is.
Dragonstorm, 1 red and 8 colourless for sorcery.
It sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
Definitely passes
Yeah.
the vanilla test.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't even know what it does.
Find a dragon card. It doesn't even have to be a creature. It could be an enchantment that's a dragon card. So any dragon card,
Dragons aren't
and put it into the battlefield. Storm.
Yeah, it's,
Yep.
it's really stupid. So if anyone doesn't know what Storm does, it copies it the amount of by the amount of spells that have already been cast this turn. So if there was 3 spells cast and you cast Dragonstorm, which I believe counts as self, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you get 4.
You then search up 4 dragons instead of just 1.
Mhm.
It's just like, oh hi, there's dragons
Yeah.
all up in this.
It's
thing.
not as simple as just putting dragons on the field because they have effects, don't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah.
Some of those dragons do things.
They're fun.
You
So
should just play vanilla dragons.
you're gonna hate me for all this. There's a now I can't even remember its name.
Oh, it's fine. Move on to the next
Yeah,
one.
it is. Okay.
Is it Archwing?
No, it's not Archway. It's the one that deals damage. Yeah.
No, that's
No.
the one that makes more dragons.
We'll put it in. We'll
This
put it
will
in
summon-
afterwards.
Oh, Scourge of Valkyrie.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Scourge
yeah.
Valkyrie.
Yeah.
So 4/4/4 red 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 2. When it or another dragon enters the battlefield under your control, deal X damage to target creature or player equal to the amount of dragons you control.
So you usually get that one out first, don't you?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fetch that one up first, and then the others. The next one I'd go for is Ultrafire Hellkite, which is red red 6
Ugh.
for a 6/6.
Yeah.
Whenever a dragon you control attacks, spit out a 6/6 dragon.
Yeah.
Insane damage.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just silly.
And if you can't deal with that with Josh running, he runs quite a few counter spells to his deck as well,
Yes,
so
there
he
is
kind
a-
of sets it up.
There's a non-zero amount of counter
Yeah.
spells in that deck.
So you're like, okay, I'll counter it, or I'll like play Aetherize or something and bounce everything back, and it's just like no.
and
you're like,
then
I'm dead.
and then the
Yes.
secret hidden blue player in Josh comes out and he's just like, how many answers do I have?
Yeah.
Look at all the answers.
Or I
I
haven't
have.
got enough Blue Sun Zenith.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like I will get a counter spell for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next card would be Sarkin Vol. You got to have him spitting out dragons.
Spitting out dragons.
Yeah.
Spitting out dragons all day.
Anthem
Happens.
until end of turn, and give your creatures haste.
Yeah.
So those dragons you just got,
Oh,
Yeah.
they can now attack.
Yeah.
And then get even more, and you kill everyone that turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair way of killing.
You are wrong.
Yeah.
What else does your deck do really well? It
Okay.
begins with R and ends in
Amp.
Okay, so I've got cards like Farseek and Kadama's Reach,
Harrow.
which
I can't. Sorry, I was like,
You don't say like that.
so yeah, Farseek, Kadama's Reach. I need to put Harrow in at some point, but there's one beautiful card that I use all the time.
Yes.
Expedition map.
What a surprise.
Recently printed in Wonder Masters 2015 as well.
Why?
Because it fetches up Academy runes. I play that.
Totally.
And then I'll keep, I put the expedition map back on top from Academy ruins, keep on searching through, getting the Urza lands and other lands to make me cast things at instant speed and all sorts. Just get all the utility lands and whatnot. It's super strong.
Yeah.
It is quite ludicrous how quickly you can get up to sort of like 9-10 mana whilst
Yeah.
we're like
Yeah, it
dabbling
is.
around on like
By
4 or 5.
turn 4, we can expect Josh to have at least double our mana.
Yeah,
Yeah,
more than likely.
yeah.
Which makes sense because like the aim of your deck is to cast Dragonstorm, and that card is
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
and you want to also be like durdling around with like your little cantrips and stuff, so you can actually storm it.
Yes.
So
One of the best ones would be Manamorphose.
Metamorphose
Just
very
in
good.
case if things
Smash it.
are a bit too hard to cast, then I've got Manamorphose just to help me out.
Yeah.
I usually don't need to do that because I've usually found all the lands I need anyway.
But even so, it's just like
It's
here's
good backup, yeah.
here's Metamorphose. It's a do nothing card. Oh wait, it fuels storm, so it's just like I
Yes.
pay 2,
Yeah.
get 2, and draw a card.
Yeah.
Seems good. Yeah. So that was Josh's Dragons.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
many Dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're moving on to Olororo.
Oh.
Olororo, the ageless ascetic, who has he's actually just been dismantled. But it started off as the pre-con deck, and I sort of took all the good stuff out, put what I thought at the time was rubbish stuff in, and I say it's an extort drain deck featuring mill and counter spells. It sort of started off getting life gainy, and I didn't really realise. So then I started putting in drain effects like Sanguine Bond, and Sanguine Bond teamed with Exquisite Blunt became my main win con, because whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life, and whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life, and it
Yeah.
becomes an instant combo.
Yes.
Vizcopa Guildmage actually has an activated ability which can do the same as Sanguine Bond, so I've got that alternate one as well. But Sanguine Bond on its own also doubles up with a load of X spells I've got in. I've got Depth of Deathless is the biggest X spell, and there's a mini one, Death Grasp, which does a similar thing, and they're both drain spells, so each player or target player loses X life and you gain that much.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's loads of life gain effects that sort of trigger that or make it better. But yeah, that's meant to be my main win con. But then I started putting mill in, and I'm not sure why. I think just because I liked it.
Yeah.
Because blue. Sometimes.
Because blue. Because I, especially when I get doubling cube out, I have stupid amounts of mana. Mind grind occurs quite often. My favourite alternate win con is Storm Herd, which is you put X 1/1 Pegasi onto the field, where X is your life total, and in the life gain deck, my deck regularly gets to about 90 odd plus.
Oh, yeah.
Like, easily.
Oh, yeah, quite easily.
Yeah.
I mean, it usually ends on infinite, but that's just
Yeah.
So I get loads of Pegasi on the field, which is great. It's always lovely to have like 50 creatures. But the thing is, if you team it with Altar of the Brood, which is a 1-drop artifact, whenever a permanent enters the field under your control, each player mills a card, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, suddenly your 90 life or whatever becomes
Instant
Death. Yeah.
instant death.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's always fun.
You're just like, oh, I got killed by Pegasus.
Yeah, and then I started putting Planeswalkers in. It became a Super Friends Extort Drain Mill Life Gain super deck.
Okay, cool. So, my favourite commander deck that I have uses Gerald.
Gerald.
Jared Golgari Lichlord. He is a black green 2/2, and he also has gets +1/+1 for each creature in your graveyard, which is kind of relevant. The main reason I use him though, because surprise, it's an instant win combo, is he has an activated ability for 1 colourless, 1 black, 1 green. Sacrifice target creature. Each opponent loses life equal to that creature's power.
And what do you pair with that?
I pair a lot of things with that actually, because I'm a very friendly fella. So there's a couple of creatures in there that are power and toughness equal to number of creatures or cards in my graveyard or everyone's graveyard. The most notable one being my favourite win con of the entire deck is Lord of Extinction. 3 colourless, 1 green, 1 black for a star. Power and toughness equal to the number of all cards in all graveyards. Judging by the fact that I play with generally at least 2 mill players,
Awkward.
who I'm very happy sat there because I'm not being targeted. I don't play anything because they're like, no, we're not putting stuff in your graveyard. I was like, okay, that's fine. So it regularly comes to the battlefield as just usually about a couple of hundred. Usually,
It's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
between 50.
It's more than our life totals.
Yeah, it's more than our life
Most
total.
of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah, more often than not, it can kill everyone in one fell swoop. So that's always fun. If life totals aren't enough, there's a sweet little combo in the deck that uses, god damn it, what's that card called? Death's Presence, which is 5 colourless, 1 green. And it's an enchantment. Whenever a creature dies, I put +1/+1 counter on another target creature that I control equal to its power. So if I kill Lord of Extinction and I have another creature, I put all of Lord of Extinction's power on another creature and then just sacrifice that one as well. And then ad nauseum until everyone is dead.
Yeah.
Not actually.
So a 100 becomes like 250,
Yeah.
becomes 500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep it moving.
Especially even more hilariously paired if Corpse Jack Menace is on the field.
Yes.
Which is whenever a counter would be placed on a creature, you double those counters as well. It kind of does like a doubling season type effect, which I also run in the deck as well.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
Do you want Primal Vigor?
I don't, because I don't actually own one.
I'll have to get you one.
I probably should.
I don't have
Don't do it.
No, I don't.
So of course, the deck wants to make big creatures, but it also wants to kill creatures and stuff like that. But of course, if I'm killing my own creatures, then I don't want anyone else to have creatures as well. So I use cards like Dictate of Erebos and Grave Pact.
This makes me sad.
I don't
So
care.
all
Creatures
of-
are overrated.
All of my tiny little utility creatures are sack engines, basically.
Yeah.
And with Grave Pact out or Dictate of Erebus, they both do the same thing. Grave Pact being 1 black for an enchantment. Whenever a creature I control dies, everyone sacrifices the creature. And that's usually very handily paired with someone else that pays a Grave Pact on the other side, because then it's just an ultimate cycle until everything is dead.
Yeah.
So that's always fun. That's always super fun. And me being me, I'm generally not content with the cards in my hand being my only resource. So obviously the graveyard is a resource for me, and I try and put stuff in the graveyard as much as possible. Obviously the mill players don't like me doing that, so they don't target me because they're big meanies. So I use dredge cards like Life from the Loam and Golgari Grave Troll to, instead of draw a card, I dump stuff in my graveyard. And I use Deadbridge Chant, which is a sweet enchantment from Gate Crash. I want to say Gate Crash, or maybe Return to Ravnica.
I can't remember.
Or maybe Dragon's Maze. I think it's Dragon's
That
I
Maze.
think it's Dragon's Maze.
It's Dragon's Maze.
Yeah.
It's 4 colours, black-green, enchantment, mill 10 yourself, and then at the beginning of every upkeep, return a card at random to your hand from your graveyard. So it's kind of cool. Like, you don't know what you're going to get, but hey, free cards are free cards.
Exactly.
But that paired with things like Shieldred, where I can just pick and choose to bring cards back straight to the battlefield as well if they're creatures. I'm just like, okay, I'll bring this huge creature back, make a load of little creatures, sack all the little creatures and that, and then next turn Shieldred just brings the same thing back again, sack that, and yeah, it's a lot of sacrificey, graveyard, gross kind of horrible, and I love it. It's amazing.
It's Golgari.deck.
It is
yeah.
just straight up Golgari deck. Don't let anyone else have any creatures. Your graveyard is where you keep your creatures for safekeeping until they're ready to come and play again.
Until someone uses Tormod's Crypt.
Until someone uses Tormod's Crypt, and then I'm very sad. But that's the nature of EDH. When decks get out of hand, you start putting things in that completely shut them down. It's just like, oh, Tormod's Crypt. Oh, that's kind of...
Or Nil Spellbomb.
Yeah.
Relic of Genesis.
Relic of Genesis.
Yeah.
But it turns out people don't like having a graveyard.
I should totally
really
put Rest
cool.
in Peace in my deck.
That would be
Ah.
Yeah.
It's always fun putting cards in your deck that just shut down someone
No,
else's
I
deck.
wouldn't do that.
That's why I put Erebos in mine.
Yeah, I don't have that deck anymore.
But yeah, that's me, Golgari player through and through. Jared Bros for life. Talking of bros for life.
Yeah, okay. I'm using Niv Mizzet, his guild pack incarnation, and the card will be up on the screen, hopefully.
Yes.
Yes, it will.
Good. So I don't have to do about anything.
It's fine.
Two colourless, blue, red,
Red.
for a 4/4 flyer.
He's a 4/4 flyer
He has
with...
no other relevant ability.
No.
No. Most importantly, he's a dragon wizard. Dragon wizard. Like, that's the most important thing, and Niv Mizzet.
That's even better than Trogdor. He was only a dragon man.
He was only a man.
Yeah.
But yeah, he has an ability, it's triggered ability, which whenever you draw a card, he pings something 1 damage, target creature or player, and he has a tap ability, which is you draw a card, which obviously then activates his trigger.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, it's
Like
yeah.
1 damage, 1 draw.
You pay 6 mana for that.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh, it's
And
so
it's
harsh.
really hard to cast as well.
But saying that, moving on to a card that makes Niv Mizzet pretty absurd, other than putting Basilisk Collar on him as well, is a card called Mind
I
Moil.
can't imagine him being very happy about that.
But then he's Death Touch and Lifelink Piggy.
Or
You could
put
be
cur-
happy about
Or
that.
putting curiosity on him.
Yes, is actually something I did at some point, which was an infinite combo with Niv, but I changed it for a more kind of elaborate infinite combo, which I'll go into in a minute. But yeah, there's a card Mind Boil, and it is, I think it's 4 uncolored, 1 red, and whenever you cast any spell, you kind of ship your entire hand to the bottom of your deck and draw that many cards. And it's absurd with Niv Mizzet, but it's not the only reason I like the card. I love the card because it's quintessentially Izzet, as a lot of the cards are, whereas this deck is very much for the person that has no plan or strategy whatsoever. It's 100% like,
Flavour.
yeah, it's 100% you going into this with this deck, not knowing what's going to happen, and whatever happens is great.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah, it's just like, okay,
I is it?
I'm going to
Yeah.
have an experiment today, and it may or may not go well,
Yeah.
but it will be glorious, and there will be explosions.
And everyone else is the participant, whether they know it or not. But that's another thing about the deck that I really love. It is very obviously Niv Mizzet eccentric, and that is a win condition with Mind Moil. But originally the kind of deck's idea was to be copying a lot of instants and sorceries, kind of like a pseudo storm in a way. But I began to see over time how having a lot of creatures like Echo Mage and Sigil Tracer and just a lot of copying spells like Reverberate and Reiterate, yeah, that kind of thing, allows you to use any other resource of any other player to your advantage.
Yeah.
And that's one of the great things about it, because it's not essentially kind of you taking what they're doing, it's more being able to be flexible to what anyone's doing at any point. And that's one of the things I really love about it. So if you're content to sit there and, like Josh, plays a lot of ramp, so what I do tend to do is desperately try and get my land in such a state. When Josh does doing his big ramp, granted he does it a lot faster than I often get on the ball. So like I copy Josh's ramping off like a Farseek or something like that, which has worked sometimes, but usually he's too fast. Because it takes time, you know, there's a preparation time for
Yes. You've got to, like, stage 1 is like making sure the experimental area is
Yeah.
really clean of everything, and you've got to set up all your equipment.
And
nicely.
there's none of this following
I'm sorry,
like
you know
safety
what is it
procedures.
is, right?
Yeah, there's none of this following safety procedures, because some of the greatest things, like I've often, not exactly one, but like if Samuel or Frankie casts a big old Mind Grind, you copy that, your version of Mind Grind goes on the stack first. So, you know, you copy that, everyone's decks are kind of going, and then the other Mind Grind resolves,
Yeah,
and then
usually
everyone dies.
Everybody
slowly.
should be choosing a counter war.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, there is, the counter wars are
We have
very
so many
hard.
Our blue
Outdoors.
stacks are amazing.
Are usually pretty incredible, especially with the copying, but it is very
Yeah.
copy
Out
instant
of-
sorceress.
Out of everyone sitting on
centric.
this table right now, James is the only one that doesn't run a million counter spells.
Yeah, I just sit there
Yeah.
like, I wonder if Shield would resolve.
Sometimes.
I doubt it somehow.
Yeah, it's
And
usually
then-
a lot of extinctions usually the bad one that people are like, maybe not.
Yeah, that's why I pull them out of the graveyard more often than not.
True. Yes, I can't be interrupted as much.
Yeah.
And then there's the one blue deck you actually do play where the blue's just for bounce.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
There are no counter spells in that deck.
Yeah, sorry, Sam.
Oh no, no, it's
You
alright. I mean, but yeah, like it's a wonderful deck which like suits me to a T. But one of the things I do like, I don't like to be an aggressor, and it is a deck that's very good for the passive player, but it's very good for being passive in a very subtle way that people don't know how bad things are going to get.
Yeah, we do.
Or could get.
It's an opposite to my Simic deck because you can see when crap's happening.
Yeah.
Yes.
Although I don't necessarily swing a lot with it, I'll just sit there and set everything up until do like one massive swing and win.
Yeah.
Whereas Sam will just sit there for ages with just hardly anything on the board, a handful of cards, and just wait.
It is a wonderful deck where it's got obviously an absurd amount of drawing with the copying spells, and it's very wizard centric. So of course you can put Azumi in there who draws a lot of cards for wizards, and you've got Patron Wizard who can protect your stuff. But there is a hell of a lot of cards in your hand. But one of the things I often enjoy about the deck is having a plan and looking at a bunch of these cards and going, okay, this is what I'm going to do. But then you draw something and you're like, actually, no, this would be funner, so I'm going to wait for this to happen. And then it never does. But that's the joy of it. It's just like you from one draw to the next opens these incredible opportunities. And the deck, like if not many people have played it, but it isn't a deck that has exactly a set win condition other than Mind Moil. But that's what makes it so enjoyable. It's completely unpredictable.
So guys, thank you very much for watching. This has been our EDH special. We shall see you in the next video.
In the next video. If you want to look at our decks more thoroughly and see what all of the little tiny finicky little tiny bits are in it, we're all going to do tapped out versions of them, take a screenshot and put them on our website, which is in the description below. So go check that out, it's got cool stuff on it. Bye!
Bye!